The fitness band buzzed at 2:03 a.m. The heart rate zone wasn't for sleep. I'm not jealous of bodies, I'm jealous of data. Bodies tell the truth if you stop staging them. Data decides which truth arrives first. At 2:03 a.m. my wristband vibrated with the kind of cheerful cruelty only wearables have perfected. Elevated HR detected 162 BPM shared device, Theo. Under it the app's bedtime grammar, sleep mode paused activity. Intense. The tiny graph drew a mountain where a night should have been flat. Theo wasn't in our bed. The mattress kept his side like a promise. It intended to return for store credit. He'd texted at 10:44, "Board wants one more drink. Don't wait up." Theo can turn a bar napkin into a donor agreement and a silence into applause. At 7:05 I'd filmed the coffee because ritual is cheaper than religion and keeps better hours. I captioned it here. He reacted with the thumbs up he saves for nights that intend to rename themselves. The band didn't rename anything, it confessed. The apartment practiced neutral, radiator as amateur chorus, hall mirror as a window that refused to take sides. I boiled water because water doesn't audition. It makes heat and lets time do the rest. I set out 2 mugs on instinct and then put one back because instinct isn't a guest I trust after midnight. At 3:11 the lock cleared its throat. Theo came in with his shoes hooked by 2 fingers like witnesses too tired to lie, and a smell of lime and rooftop that tried to masquerade as weather. He kissed the air near my cheek, our administrative truce, and saw the app glowing on the counter like a clerk with excellent posture. His pupils did the thing clocks do, dilated as if a minute could be bought. He set the shoes down like tiny boats surrendering their docks and put both palms on the table the way our therapist taught us when we wanted to give words somewhere to land. The gesture is either dignity or triage. "Which question?" he asked. "Why or who?" "Why?" I said, because Matt, my emergency adult, kicks me under imaginary tables when I lead with names. If I start with who, the graph writes our minutes. Theo looked at the patch of wall where the paint keeps wanting to retire without ceremony. "Because the scene wouldn't land," he said. "Because donors clapped in the wrong places and wanted to be forgiven with gin. Because the lark got too loud when money started telling stories about courage. Because Jules, yes, said his studio had air that didn't judge and a sound system that could make the night believe it was rehearsal. Because the band thought it knew my body better than I did." "Did you kiss him?" I asked, breaking Matt's superstition like a boy with a stick and a fence. "In the elevator," he said. "Once, small and honest and wrong, I came home." "I hate how sane that sounds," I said, the sentence I reserve for mercy arriving before I can match its tone. We didn't sleep. We made an appointment with daylight because noon is when cities pretend to be merciful and men remember how to speak without staging it. Jules lived above a bakery that smelled like apologies with good butter. The buzzer included a directory of first names. Modest buildings know their tenants by touch and rumor. He opened before I knocked. Bare feet, gray shirt, a mug convincing steam to behave. He saw us both and didn't pretend surprise. My favorite trick in men who owe a room honesty. "I was coming to apologize," he said, "to you both and to whatever part of the night thinks heart rate zones are alibis. He loves you," he added, nodding at Theo. "I like being near that. I'm sorry my work borrows the same grammar as desire." "You don't get to call it our grammar," I said, "because cleverness is my superstition and I tithe when I'm anxious. Rehearsal is a room, a kiss is a scene, a spike is a number. You don't get to be the verb in our kitchen." Theo didn't look at Jules. He looked at me with the exact weight of a man choosing which door deserves his mouth. "I want open windows," he said, "not open doors." We left with the bakery's sugar dragging the air like a gentle excuse. At home, I moved the kitchen chair to the center of the floor because procedures save men when gods won't. Theo smiled like a man relieved to be caught kindly. He came around the table and paused, always that pause, his most decent habit. I met him halfway. The first kiss carried the proper weight, apology without speeches. The second slid his fingers under my shirt and my hand to the back of his neck, the place he keeps for oaths and sleep. We didn't perform a ceremony, we used heat as a system. If I could map the rest without getting evicted by an algorithm that prefers virtue louder than accuracy, I would. Keep the inventory, one breath that belonged to both, a belt resigning with grace, a wrist held with permission and not claim. The room did not applaud. It didn't need to. The city prefers quizzes. 2 nights later, the Lark's account posted a carousel at 1:41 a.m. Hand saw light in a mirrored corridor, 4 bodies if you counted reflections. Theo washing his hands, head down. Jules behind him, tie loosened. A stranger passing like a rumor. Me in the doorway because someone had tagged my name as if helpful were a synonym for harmless. The caption said boys being brave. Comments did what comments do. I typed nothing. I put the phone face down. I moved the chair until the room remembered it wasn't a witness stand. When Theo came home, he handed me his phone without instructions. Delete or archive, he said. I don't want new grammar. You don't need me to erase your verbs, I said, and he rested his forehead against mine like a paperweight on a better draft. 3 days later, the email arrived with fonts that have never had to apologize to a kitchen. Residency, 7 days, quiet rooms, kind windows. Theo forwarded the PDF with every map attached, which is how you know a man has learned where courage keeps its receipts. I want to go without disappearing, he wrote. I'll send pages, not alibis. When I get back, ask me what I wrote before what I did. I taped 2 lines under the lemon magnet because props still save us when God is off shift. Addresses in the open. A good night here voice note every day. He added a third in his careful mess. If an I can't is coming, it happens where both of us are. Night 1, wind and a sentence I decided to believe. Today the table forgave me. Night 3, nothing, and my thumb became the worst teenager in the world. I opened the band's app and stared at the shared device panel like prophecy might be Bluetooth. I toggled off share with Theo, then toggled it on again, then set the phone face down and moved the chair. At 8:12 he called with a voice that made the kettle think there might be a God. I almost kissed a window, he said. It didn't know your name. I closed the blinds. He came back with a suitcase that didn't slam and 2 pages he treated like animals. They're not good, he said. They're mine, I said, and we performed our small religion. Paper, kettle, a room that knows it isn't a lobby. He slid his hands under my shirt from behind, slower than contrition, faster than nostalgia. Here, he said into the bend of my neck, which is the only word left that has never demanded witnesses. We tried boring. We failed gracefully. We tried again. Jules learned to stand at the back of the house with his arms crossed like a man paying the bill he owes himself. He clapped exactly once after the kiss that ends the new scene. He didn't text. Neither did we. For a week, my wrist buzzed only for things that deserved a pulse. Stairs, kettles, a jog that remembered how to be a prayer. Tests return because the world is thorough when it thinks you've studied. At 12:12 a.m., the app tapped my skin with a notification shaped like a rumor. Live workout detected, partner activity, calisthenics. The map dotted Theo's location 3 blocks south, at a studio with windows that enjoy nomming other people's nights. I could have clicked the stream. There's a feature for that now. Cheer your partner on. I turned the screen face down and let the kettle be louder than the future. At 1:01 the lock exhaled. Theo came in with rain in his hair and a sentence ready. He asked me to spot him, he said. He wanted to practice not being brave at the wrong hour. He kissed the mat good night. I kissed the exit good decision. Do you want to hate me now or later? I prefer now. I like the way you come back from it. I'm tired of coming back, I said. I want to stay. He nodded like a man returning a key that never belonged to our house. He opened the app, disabled share heart rate with friends, then added me again, not for surveillance but for grammar. We stood there until our pulses agreed to be boring together. We went to bed without performing an essay on forgiveness. We used our mouths the way men do who still prefer heat to cleverness. The room did not applaud. It didn't need to. Weeks alter even honest bruises. The band learned our hours and forgave our drift. The studio's windows tried to recruit our reflections and failed. The city kept making rooms that want to pronounce us. I kept the chair and the kettle and a tolerance for small humiliations done on purpose. Jules sent a shared drive invite titled Contact Maps Notes. Members, Theo, me. I didn't accept. I watched the preview. A whiteboard with arrows pointing at muscles with verbs for consent written in 4 tenses, and let my eyes do a small treason before telling them to sit. One afternoon that pretended to be harmless, the app served me a memory. 1 year ago, PR. 5K the clip showed Theo high-fiving a stranger at the finish line, Jules, then just a gentleman with calves and timing. The algorithm gave me slow motion like a pat on the head. I exhaled and closed it. Nostalgia is a solvent with pretty packaging. Another retest arrived as bureaucracy. At 12:27 a.m., an automated email, competition invitation, couples cardio challenge, creator Jules. Team name, Theo and Co. I didn't respond. Theo came home at 12:59 with his mouth unarmed. I told him no, he said. He thinks transparency wears a halo. I think breakfast should be an achievable ritual. Keep the halo, I said. Make the breakfast. He grinned like a man discovering the plain truth costs more and is worth it. He set 3-minute timers the next night. The micro-ceremony Matt prescribes. Speak until the beep, don't interrupt. Answer as if time were expensive. When the beep confessed our minutes were up, he asked, not with spectacle but with grammar, whether he could touch me. I said yes. I won't draw you the rest. Keep the simple arithmetic. 2 bodies that kept their nouns. A breath we shared because we asked. A door that knows the difference between greeting and granting. Morning behaved. It crossed the floor like a dog that remembers we remain worth guarding. I made coffee. Theo set his palm flat over my chest in that quiet territory between heartbeat and promise. Here, he said, less a word than a careful wait. I put my hand over his and let the day borrow our courage. By noon, the theater's account posted a still from the talkback, Theo in profile mid-laugh. Jules beside him, listening like attention is a sport he trains for. The caption thanked donors and said community with the elegance of a grant application. I let my eyes commit the smallest treason, measured the angle of ankle toward chair, the innocent geometry of candor that is only sometimes innocent. I didn't show Theo the post. He knows that posture better than I do. He knows how to unlearn it when it matters. That evening we invited 2 friends and the habit of normalcy to dinner. The band buzzed for steps and nothing else. After dishes, we played our little game. One truth you'd rather keep, one fear you're willing to say out loud. Theo said, I fear I'll mistake adrenaline for honesty. I said, I fear I'll mistake vigilance for love. We stood in that admission like men trying on coats that were made for weather we hadn't ordered. Then he touched my jaw with 2 fingers, the intimacy director's sacrament, repurposed for domestic faith, and for once the gesture landed exactly where it belonged. The last retest arrived stupid like most. At 12:18 a.m. my wrist buzzed, safety alert, irregular rhythm detected partner. The map marked a dot alley behind a club that thinks neon can cure everything. I put water on. I moved the chair. At 12:41, the lock sounded tired of pretending. Theo came in, cheeks flushed with cold, not sin. He panicked, he said. He asked me to stay. I counted with him until the numbers remembered they're just air. He offered me his mouth as a thank you. I offered him the door. Do you want to hate me now or later? I want to sleep in a house that trusts its own bed, I said. We stood in the small, humiliating usefulness of being decent at the same time. Later in the dark, he kissed me like a man paying dues with the right currency, slow interest, honest math. The band logged our hearts as resting. The app called our breaths even. The room, generous as unearned mercy, kept our secrets because we gave it nothing to translate. Tomorrow we'll try again. Algorithms will offer us quizzes dressed as care. Windows will pretend they're verbs. Jules will exist where he exists, a person, not a villain. Donors will clap in the wrong places. The city will keep inventing nights that want to name us without asking. But when Theo says here, my body has stopped auditioning for suspicion. If another hour offers me a graph with the kind of honesty nobody asked for, or a buzz against my skin that thinks it knows our verbs, I hope I remember the handful of humiliating, useful acts that got us through this one. Put water on. Move the chair when words try to riot. Ask why before who. Hold the breath before contact and let it finish being the scene. Then wait for the lock's small throat clearing like it's the first note in a song we can still tune to. We didn't get away with anything. We stayed. We are still staying. The band can keep its zones, the river can keep its absolutions, the lobby can keep its glass. We'll keep being the address. Or, on the nights we can't, the map that admits its misprints and still shows the way back. Past the revolving door that thinks it's a sermon, past the elevator's red dot that loves its own memory, into a kitchen where a chair knows what it's for, a kettle keeps its 7:05 appointment, and two hands that have done worse learn again how to touch without asking the night to edit.